Hold on, not yet. Oh yeah, you can go ahead and start it up. Yeah.
What's that?
It's for a disc. It's another reason why you don't need a lot of things. It's an example. It's a game.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. How's everybody doing? Well, I want to say thank you for being here. Those of you that could join us, they've got a full day full of great stuff for you guys. We do have a few housekeeping things. The bathrooms, if you haven't found them already, if you go out these double doors over here, they're back to the left. There's a water fountain back there as well. We also have a speaker during lunch, and that will be in a different room. It is the Riverside room, and that room is past the check-in desk to the left-hand side. And if you get to the patio area where the muffins were this morning, you went too far. Okay, so turn around. We will have another break in the patio area, though. We're going to go ahead and get started. We've got Ann here with AARP, and she is going to present today for y'all, Prepare to Care. So I'm going to let her introduce herself, kind of tell who she is and what she's got going on, okay? Thank you so much.
Good morning. How's everybody? It's kind of nice to be away. Isn't it beautiful outside? This is my first time here, and it's just a beautiful place. I am originally from Guntersville, Alabama, which is on a lake, and I don't live there anymore and haven't for years, so I miss being on the lake. This is lovely. Yes, can't hear me? Oh, so I need it really close. I have two mics. I am technology challenged. This is probably not good. Listen, thank you very, very much for coming, and do tell me periodically if you can't hear me, because I tend to do this, okay? What I'd like to do is just welcome you. I'm Ann Hales. I am one of the directors of community outreach for AARP in Alabama, and my territory is basically Central and East Alabama. We travel around the state, though, and try to give information that's useful to people, and that's what we're doing here. AARP is really involved with caregiving, so I'm going to tell you a little bit more about that. But before we begin, we have some ground rules for this presentation. Please be sure, because I'll ask people to share periodically, please be sure to share the floor so that everybody has a chance to speak if they'd like to. And everything that's shared here is confidential. So if you share something with a neighbor or with us, it is confidential. And lastly, this is a judgment-free zone. You know that caring for a family member or close friend is one of the most important roles that you play. Many of you are in this caregiving role in different times and are already in the midst of it. But it could start with, you know that caregiving could start with simply driving somebody to the doctor, or going over to their house to check on whether they need something, maybe taking them a meal. That's caregiving, as you go by, can just start with anything, but it can entail so much more. And let's see if this is working. This isn't working. Is it on there? You don't even have it on. It's not working. Technical difficulties again, just a minute. I thought that was behind me. Has this been this way the whole time?
No, when you hit the button.
When I hit the button, it kind of went away?
Yeah. Oh, wait. There you go. I hit this right here. the arrows.
Yeah, that's what I did, and it went away.
Good.
Okay, good. I got it. Got it. Oh, no.
All right. Don't hit those buttons. Just hit the arrows.
Try that again.
Oh, wait. Oh, wait. Hold on 1 second. Oh, it exited out.
No, I was only hitting that.
Okay. 1 second.
I'm sorry. I told you I was technically challenged.
Okay. Why am I deciding to act weird now?
Yeah, and I wasn't punching those. I was just doing this. Sorry?
Check that pole.
Hmm?
Like something to check that pole in hand. What's wrong with it?
Oh, no, it's not.
Nothing's wrong with this.
No.
It's this. It's this. Yeah, it's this.
You know the laptop.
Yeah,
Tell you what, I'm not putting this no bit.
it was working perfectly fine yesterday. Let's see.
Well, I mean, we can stop using this.
Yeah, that might be the case.
But it worked before.
We should unplug this and see what happens. You gotta be kidding me. It's completely frozen again.
I think maybe it's the computer.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too.
So we can use that computer if we need to?
If we need to, yes. But I'm not sure. Oh, there we go, okay. Lost. Alright. Let me see if this will work. Or might need to just keep this thing out because it might be causing it to freeze up anyway.
Let me pull this out in case I need it. I hate using these notes. I'm gonna put it over here.
I got a question. Try this right here. Try this sip.
This one's working.
Yeah, try this sip.
Oh, hello.
It's on. Hold up, just
I mean, this one's fine. Is that not? Yeah, that one's fine. I'm probably standing right there.
Okay.
But I mean, we can try it.
Let it just
Okay. And my hour is up.
Hey, it's not working. Can we just wing it? Okay. Can you do it without it or you need it?
I can. It's better with it though, but I can. For this big a crowd, you kind of need it.
Okay.
It's hard to wing.
It's not working.
It kind of froze up.
Hers froze up too?
Yeah, like basically.
No, can we do it on that
Can we
one?
do it on this one?
Because it's just on a.
It's on jump drive.
It's just a.
I know hers, but what about yours?
I don't need it.
You don't?
I can do without it. We can figure something out. It would have been good to have it, but if not. And then this way you can just.
Does she have the HDMI? Because that's the connection that we have. Did she have the HDMI on hers? That's what I was asking.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay. All right. What's that? There.
Right, yeah.
Okay. That's just her power, right? Yeah, we just hope she's got enough power.
Oh, the power cable was right.
Don't have to use mine.
Yeah. And I have mine, and I have it on mine, but we don't have the right cords for mine.
Well, I'm glad y'all have the cords for mine because I sure didn't. I just brought charger and, you know.
No, it's not. Don't worry about it. Oh, right here.
Now, I wonder if we can share the screen with the notes
We can.
so that I can see the notes.
We can because
If not, I have them where I can read them, but it's a little bit more difficult to read them. Awesome. You want to see if that'll work in this one?
Yep, I'm pretty sure this will. This is Windows 7.
Oh, hold on this. Yeah. Okay.
All right, this Well, okay, actually,
You wanna pair
this is
that?
probably a brand new device, and this is running Windows 7.
It just
which
needs
is
to
very
pair.
old.
Oh, so it may not.
Yeah, it might not actually work unless it has, unless it gets an update or something. Let me see if that's gonna work straight up. Okay, so that works. But no.
It's probably not.
Yeah, it needs to get updated.
Okay.
That's all right. So this.
All right, we'll just have to do it without.
Yeah.
We can do, so I can just do it with the arrows, right?
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay, let me see. Actually, let me double check.
Oh, and it's not touch screen,
Yep.
is it?
Oh no, that's not touchscreen. No. Sorry. Yeah, see, just hit the arrows.
Okay.
And then
And how? This is gonna be a challenge.
actually, let me see. Oh wait, no, it's still gonna go.
Give me my
down-
notes bigger.
down the page.
So let's do.
Bigger notes.
Yeah, do my where I can see the notes. And then scroll that thing up. I don't need to see that.
I can get it.
There you go. That's what I need. That'll get most of my notes on here. And I don't need all that, so yeah. Okay, let's see.
There you go. And then just hit those arrows. Left, right. Hit right to go to the next one.
Yeah, I can do it that small, I think.
Oh, okay. And I guess,
Yeah, so I do, and then I'll just hit the arrows. That's good. I'm good.
got it.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. Okay, we're back. We're back. So no matter where you are in your family caregiving, no matter where you are, whether you're just at the beginning or whether you're in the middle or whether you're about at the end, because sometimes our caregiving role it can be a very temporary thing while somebody's ill. Having a good framework to guide you through that will make it a whole lot easier. When it comes to caring for a loved one, most families don't have a plan. How many of you found yourself in a caregiving role full on and went, oh no, what do I do? Most of us, right? It just hits us, which is why AARP is really doing this program. We do something called Prepare to Care. It's good to do for people who are in the middle of that caregiving role, but it is also great to get that information to people before they need it. The difficulty is, how many of you would have come to something if I'd have said, let's have a caregiving event when you were 35? Or 40. Not very many. So after this is over, I would love for your suggestions on how you think we could get information to people before they know they need it. That's the difficult part, and that's what we would really like to do too, but this is really good anytime. During this session, I'm going to make sure I've got everything in here because I tend to veer off of this. We're going to exchange some tips and advice and learn about some resources that are available to you. I'm going to go pretty fast because I knew we used up a lot of time in setting this up. You should have a Prepare to Care guide with you in that bag. You don't have to go through it while we're doing. You're welcome to, but you don't have to. It's a wonderful guide, and I hope that you take it home, share it. If you need other copies, it should be on the back where you can order them. They are free. So if you need another copy or want to share it with somebody, please do that. And if you, everybody should have a pen if you want to jot down notes in the book or somewhere else, you're welcome to do that too. What I would like for you to do right now, if you have just a minute, I'm only going to give you 2 minutes. I would like for you, to the person next to you, on both sides, if you can. Some of you are far apart, so you might not be able to do that. But I would like, if you don't already know them, share your name. If you do, maybe share your middle name. Maybe they didn't know what that was. And then tell your neighbor if you are currently a caregiver or not, and tell them who you provide care for. That's it. 2 minutes.
Wait. Say it loud, and then just go ahead and talk.
You gonna make it louder?
I hope so. See what's going on here.
Do you think that other one was louder? I mean, I can use the other one if you think it's louder. I can hold it closer to my mouth.
Wait. Say something. Say something.
Hello, test. Okay, your 2 minutes is up. He's going to work with the volume on this a little bit while I'm talking. Is that okay? I think it's good. Okay, now let me give you a picture of what a caregiver the life of a caregiver is, let me ask you a few questions, and you know these answers. You are a caregiver if you help a loved one with household tasks such as cleaning, laundry, or yard work. Do any of you do that? Have you done that, right? Helped a loved one with medications, filling the medications, putting them in the boxes, regularly cook food for someone, drive to doctor's appointments, make shopping trips or run other items, prepare personal care, or provide personal care, bathing and dressing someone, helping with a loved one's finances, paying the bills, right? That's what a lot of us do, pay the bills. What about just, you're a caregiver if you provide emotional support, right? Okay, communicate with healthcare professionals. How important is that for you to be there with the person you're caring for? When you're talking to care, I need somebody with me, because I bet we all could use somebody with us, because we all forget what they tell us to do and don't write down everything. So if you have your hand raised or did or answered yes, you are a caregiver. And you know that caregiving is one of the most important roles in your life. I'm going to give you very, very short. AARP's founder, Dr. Ethy Purcell-Andrus, was a caregiver. She was an educator, and she actually quit her job as an educator, and you know how that is too, right? She quit her job as an educator and to take care of her mother, but she was able to retire at that time. It was later on that Ethel Purcell-Andrus, she did this, because she said it's only in giving of oneself to others that we truly live. The human contribution is the essential ingredient. And isn't that so true? So she did that, and after her mother passed, she decided to, she ended up, I'm going to go along, I'm going to make this story short. She ended up founding the National Retired Teachers Association to help teachers, advocate for teachers so that they would have health insurance. I'm still not holding this close enough, am I? And then about 11 years later, she founded AARP. So she started, though, as a caregiver. Now, I have one, I need someone to, I need two people actually, because I need to hold the mic. So I need two people up here to do a demonstration for me very quickly. Who wants to volunteer? Somebody wants to volunteer, right? Who wants to volunteer? All right. What I'd like you to do, can you see them back here? Do they need to go in the middle? Go in the middle. What I'd like you to do is when I call out a task, I want you to throw with a ball from one person. One person throws, one person catches. So take your bag with you and somebody, so one person catches all of them, so you can't share. Okay, so one person is the thrower, one person is the catcher. So don't get too far apart if you're not good at either one of those roles. But far enough where it makes it fun to try to catch. Okay? So what I want to do is just do this. It is to show you all those tasks. When I read these statements, I'm going to say mom or dad, but I want you to think about the person that you are caring for. Do you take mom or dad to medical appointments? Pick up a prescription. Organize and help mom take her medication. Call insurance companies to make sure our insurance is set up correctly. Shop for groceries. Cook meals. Mow the lawn. Whoa. Do laundry and clean mom's house. Bathe and dress mom. Go to work. Pick up the kids. Pick up the kids from soccer. Are we having a little bit of difficulty? Would you like some help? Would somebody step up to help her? How about take mom to the beauty shop? Who can catch? One catch. Change mom's bandages. Okay, I'm doing this to show you all of the different jobs. You know these are only the tip of an iceberg of the jobs that a caregiver has, right? And we oftentimes take on this role all by ourselves. It is so much easier if you do it with help. Don't forget to ask for help. How many balls can you juggle as a caregiver? Okay, so we're going to break this down. We want to make a plan. We're going to start with starting a conversation. That's sometimes the most difficult thing to do. Forming a team, making a plan, finding support, and of course then caring for yourself. Starting a conversation. That's sometimes the hardest thing to do. Right? If we could go ahead and start a conversation, we could get our future started. But a lot of times we avoid that conversation and it really impacts the future of what we end up doing. We need to start and think about the changes that we know are going to come or probably going to come in the lives of people that we love the most. But that's why it's so hard. We wait until a crisis occurs because, well, we just don't want to think about it. We just don't want to think about it. And we need to talk about the person, we need to make a plan with the person we're caring about because we need to include their values, their preferences, their wishes, and any details that they have about their finances. So it's never easy to start that conversation, and it can be very difficult. But you'd be surprised if you start it, how much information you're going to find. So as you're starting that conversation, look for an opening. Have any of you had tried this where you've had a conversation about caring for someone and how they want the rest of their life to be? Have you started that conversation? Did you find that it was difficult? Did anybody have a suggestion? Does anybody have a suggestion of what worked for you? It's kind of difficult. And it works both ways. It's not just that we want to have it for the person we're caring for. Sometimes it's the person that we're caring for that wants to start the conversation. And we as the younger or the children don't want to talk about it. So it's both ways, right? So one of the ways, though, that you can do and you can start that conversation is to look for an opening. Look for a topic that maybe you just read something about. Maybe as you're sitting in that doctor's office and you're waiting on, you know how you have to wait a little while. You're sitting in the doctor's office and you're reading magazines and you see an article about finances or about investing or about life insurance. Might be a good time to turn around to the person and say, hey, I'm thinking about doing that for myself. I need some long-term life insurance. Can you tell me what you have? Or can you give me some advice? Or I'm thinking about putting my money in savings or in a 401k or retirement plan. What do you have? And how do you do your finances? Where do you keep your money? What bank are you? And maybe we should talk about this. So that, look for that opening. And then be sure that you're not trying to anticipate what they say. A lot of times we want to totally think of what their answers are going to be ahead of time. Try to be very open to what your loved one is feeling and respect their wishes. If they don't want to talk right then, skip it and come back. But finances can be probably one of the biggest conversations that you will have, and wanting to know about bank accounts, investments, insurance coverage, and other things. That doesn't mean that at that point they need to sign over everything with their finances, but you need to know. You need to know where things are kept. You need to know where important papers are. Somebody does. And if you are going to be the primary caregiver, you need to start talking about this so that when you do need to set that plan in action, you can go to the person that you need to. You can go to a professional or whomever and get that started. As you're countering resistance, and I'm going to probably skip through this a little bit, but keep in mind that most people are private by nature. We've got Facebook out there, we've got everything out there right now, and it makes us very public. But a lot of these kinds of issues we're very private about. And so your first conversation might not go well. It probably won't go too well. But just keep on later on. Bring it up, and bring it up at a time that you think will benefit and will be a good time to bring it up. Now, I've asked, did anybody have a good tip for how you started a conversation with anybody?
As far as with the insurance and all that, don't wait. Because my mother-in-law, she passed away a little over a year ago, and she didn't have no insurance.
Okay.
So that left it up to us, and we did respect her wishes. She talked to a priest and everything about everything. So we honored all that to the best of our ability. But yeah, don't wait, because it may be too late.
It may be. And sometimes the insurance is not the right answer, but knowing what is out there, and if you don't have insurance, how else are we going to pay for things? So what are some other options? So I'm not going to tell you that that's the answer, but what are your options, because you know it's expensive to be a caregiver and to do things. So what are your options for paying for things? So start thinking about those and making a plan. Forming your team. This is another part. We said it, teamwork. It makes it easier. You need a team. You need more than one. And most of the time, we find that it's one or two people who live in town who are the care person. But we don't all live in town, so sometimes mom or dad moves in with us, or sometimes you're caring for a child, and that's the same, you have them with you. But if they live far away from you, you may not be able to move to them, and they may not want to move where you are. And maybe they don't need to at that point, but they could still use some of your help. What can you do to help them? So as you're thinking about that, trying to do everything for yourself can lead to burnout. So we're going to talk about being a caregiver and looking at look at being a care team and looking at other options like involving neighbors, your church members to be part of it. I know this worked. So look for members who can be nearby. The caregiver for my father, my brother and sister-in-law, because they lived the closest. But they did a lot of the work, and we tried to help out as much as we could on weekends. Making those phone calls, that helps as well. But my father wanted to be able to, he couldn't drive anymore, so he wanted to be able to go to church on Sundays, and was very private and didn't want to ask anybody to help him. Was a little embarrassed. I can't drive anymore, and that was his independence, and I don't want to tell somebody to come pick me up. But we arranged for someone from his church to go pick him up every Sunday, and they became very good friends and very good buddies as a result. So it was a good fit. So you can look out there for those. Ask other people who can help, and that man was more than willing to help. He just needed to be asked. He didn't know he needed the help. Okay. And ask your loved one. The person you're caring for may have some really good ideas about who can help them out in the process. Then I want you to, as you're building your team, determine the number of team members that you need to have. You go through your list, and you'll find there's a great checklist in this booklet, and think of all the things that need to be done. And then you think of the number of caregivers or the number of people that can be on your team to help form a plan. So I would suggest don't put everybody on your team. Make it small enough that you can manage. It may only be a few people. It may be a few people from your immediate family. It may not include a ton of people from your family. It may include one person from the church. You determine who your team is going to be. And then you assign some roles and responsibilities to those. Everybody has something to contribute, and pay attention to their talents and what they have and the information. And then focus, key here, focus on the care recipient. Focus on the often overlooked person who is receiving the care, because they need to know, they need to have their wishes listened to. Barring any kind of mental or physical thing that's keeping them from participating, they need to be on the team. They're the lead of the team, but you may take the lead in managing. Okay? Now, we talked about that. Does anybody have a caregiving team? More than one person caring for? Are you the sole caregiver? How many of you are a sole caregiver? The only one. So most of you have somebody else who is helping somebody, right? Or think about that. So be sure that you are asking others to help. Now, once you have done that, I want you to make a plan. Think about your plan. Don't just play it one day at a time. Make a plan ahead of time if you can. On the needs, go through that checklist in the book and think about those needs and what I'm going to have to do in the future to make this work. When you create a plan, it's not going to be your final plan. That's why you need to be in constant contact with that team. It doesn't have to be extensive. It doesn't have to be anticipate every detail, but you need to have a little bit of an idea about your finances and some of the plans for the future. Keep in mind that these options may depend on the finances of the person. So you need to keep that in mind, that what you can do may depend on what you have and the local resources that are available in your community, right? So, and then what I want you to do is to hold a team meeting. Meet with your caregiving team and assess the goals. Determine what works best for all of you. And meeting with your team doesn't mean it has to be in person. And it can be at a time like when you're all together at Christmas or Thanksgiving. That can be the worst time though too. So think about it, because it can be, if it's a really trying time to meet with that team, that can be not a good time to do it. But it can also be an uplifting time. So you have to kind of decide what works for you and your team. But meet as a team. You can meet over the phone. Everybody can call in, you can meet on the phone, and that's pretty easy to do today. Or you can do it through email. So if you don't have an email, that might be a good way to do it. If a person you're caring for does not have email, maybe you could be with them as you're talking to others on a telephone call. And then delegate responsibilities. As you delegate responsibilities, you look at the talents of your team members. Maybe you have somebody who is a lawyer in your team. Maybe you have somebody who works at a bank or is an accountant and knows all about finances. But also, as you're delegating, remember to keep in mind what the person who is cared for really wants. Maybe they don't want that person to take care of their finances. Maybe they really trust somebody else. So that's their wish. So make sure that whoever that is that's taking care of their finances has an idea of what that entails and knows where to get help and support that they need to be able to do that job. Also, be sure that somebody's taking notes when you have a team meeting. These are informal meetings. I don't mean you're sitting down around a board, sitting around a board table, but we met with about my mother and my father several times, usually on the phone. And sometimes it wasn't a whole team. Sometimes it were 2 or 3 of us together where we were talking. But we'd take some notes and pass those on to each other. We did a lot of text messaging. So that can be part of it too. So, does anybody have anything to share about making a plan? Have you made a plan ahead of time about how you would like? What about your own plan for your own life? about how you would like your life to be? Have you made a plan for that? We like to get people who are younger to think about this, because as you're thinking about retirement and as you're thinking about your future and you're starting to put money away for retirement, you need to think about this, because you will likely be a caregiver for somebody at some point. So be sure that you're thinking about that and that you're including that into your life, where you don't know when it's going to happen, but you're including this into your plan so that it doesn't derail what you're doing. And so when that does happen, you're a little more prepared, and it's less stressful, and you see more of the blessings that come from being a caregiver more than the stress. Yes?
Yes, I would like to share something, an experience that we had in my family, which was one of my younger sisters. She's actually 55, wasn't expecting it, she had a stroke. But one thing that I found out in all of this, she has children as well, and they're all boys. So a lot of things that you're saying is, the boys really didn't want, at that point, nobody was expecting she had a stroke. Wasn't it, it just came out of nowhere. So understanding now, it's me and the niece that's actually doing all the work. So I'm seeing how important it is to make a plan, because this was thrown at us, out of the blue. So you're putting everything together, trying to figure out, okay, what do we do, how do we do it? So it has really been a big strain on the family, because she goes back and forth from me to the niece, and then she has a family, so it just came out of the blue. So I see how important it is to plan. That's right.
She was talking about how difficult it is because it hit them out of the blue when they were, younger, and they were caring for young kids. The typical caregiver is in their 40s, and they also have kids at home or other people they're caring for and jobs. They typically work 35 hours a week and spend 25 hours a week as a caregiver, and also are caring for kids and serving as a caregiver. It's a lot. It's a lot to balance. So having a plan and having an idea of if you may not have, we don't know how things are going to happen, but it could be one fall and you're going to need to help somebody, and it may be temporary. May only be for 6 weeks, but you need to have a plan. What am I going to do in that case?
And to include, I think our biggest issue was, because I'm a sister, my niece is a niece, but she has children. So we have to, you got to figure out now, where do they fit in? They are younger. So where do they fit in? Nobody wants their life disturbed. Just being honest. So, it just, like I said, it came out of the blue. So you have to figure out, where does the kids fit in?
Right. Right.
So now I know I got biological children, so now I'm making plans with them. You're going to see about me.
Right. Well, you want the kids, and the kids want to be a part of that, so she wants to involve those kids in the plan. Now is a good time to set up a plan and to start talking to your kids about what you want.
Because they don't want, people got lives, they're young, and
they do.
They got lives, and they feel that
Yeah.
they shouldn't have to do it. And that's pretty much what's happening. But mine, I talked to her. Oh, yeah.
Well, she said she's talked to her kids. Most of us, we don't want to be a burden. So we want to plan as much as we can. And I wouldn't give anything for those years that I was caring for my parents. Nothing. I would do that over and over again. But it was tough. So make a plan and have it ready, because we had help. So make a plan and do as much as you can. As you realize the scope of the need, you might have kids while you're also being a caregiver. What if, and the person who needs help, they may need a little bit, they may need a lot. So think about the other team members that you can bring in to support. And also go look at those community resources. We all know that the local area agencies on aging are the best local resource that you have, that can tell you where you can go for your resources. Consult professionals. You've got all these organizations out here in the hall that can give you some information about where you can go for help. And Alabama Cares, Alabama Respite, there's so much help out there. So please look at your local resources. At ARP, we don't do direct service. We don't do direct help. What we try to do is bring in that information so that we can share it for you, So I hope you will also, and I'll take a minute and go on to our website at arp.org, caregiving, and it has a lot of tips and a lot of these things and a lot of free resources that you can get. Go to those professionals too. Professionals can help you outline things. A social worker, they can help you even if you need to make some changes to your house to make it a little safer, to make mom or dad's house a little bit safer for them. Go to those professionals because they can come in and help you and help determine what you can do that's easy and affordable. ARP also has a guide that you can go to online called Home Fit that gives you some suggestions on if you're building a house, renovating a house, or even just helping someone make their house safer. It has a lot of tips on what to do and how not to do it. Like I added a room onto the back of my house and it totally would not work for somebody who was in a walker wheelchair. And I didn't think about that. So I want you to think about what could I do for my house that would make it livable for me to live there as a lifetime. So we have information on that as well, and professionals will do that for you now too. But as you're looking to find support, I'm going to try to go through this pretty quickly. Hire help if you need to. If you can, there's help out there and help available. Hire the help if you need to. Maybe it's just to provide meals. Maybe all they need, maybe somebody can live independently at home, but they need a little bit of help cooking. Maybe you can, if you can't bring the meals to them every day, and if Meals on Wheels isn't available to them, and that's only at one point in the day, maybe you can get somebody to come and cook once or twice a week to set it aside and they can reheat. You have to determine what kind of help you need. Or task, maybe home help, somebody can come and help with some different things. Secure their safety, make sure that they are safe and comfortable in their home. And we already said that. You can look at the Home Fit that ARP has online or go to your AAA and they can help you. And when I say AAA, I'm talking about the area agencies on aging. So, not your cars. I think of that now. I never called it that before. And look at your housing options. Is the house that they are currently living in, is that appropriate? Can they stay there? We all want to live in our house as long as we can. Sometimes it's not the house we're in, but we want to live where we want to choose, right? So look at that and make a plan for those kinds of things. And what are the options? And if you move, and if they can live independently, and if they can move someplace that's a little safer, does it have what they want near them? My aunt is about to move to a senior community, and I think that's what they actually called it, and she had two options, and one was not near her church, one was not near her neighbors, but it was a little bit newer and nicer, but she chose the other one. It still met her needs. But the most important thing to her were the people that she knew and wanted to be around. So that's where she's about to move. Now, anybody have any tips about finding support? Okay, let's skip. So let's go to caring for yourself, and this is the most important thing. If you don't take a minute to care for yourself, you're not going to be a whole lot of good if you get overwhelmed to somebody else because you're going to get sick. When illnesses come, a lot of times they hit us and we can't fight it off because we are not healthy enough to fight it off. So you need to keep yourself as healthy as you can. Sometimes that's just taking 5 minutes and stepping away and going outside, watering a plant, yelling at a plant, talking sweetly to a plant. Or maybe it's, maybe it's taking a walk in the yard, not going far if you have to be right there. Or maybe it's getting somebody to come in for a friend to come in for 15 or 20 minutes while you go out and do an exercise class just to get away. Think about what works for you. And sometimes it's just deep breathing and learning how to relax. And so I know that's one of the sessions this afternoon, and that is so important. and that helps me. So take advantage of any caregiving service that you find out there. Be sure, tap into your resources, use your technology. Ask your employer if your employer has any help for caregivers. Mine does, it's wonderful. Ask your employer if they can help. Talk to your doctors. See if the doctor has any caregiving help and discuss and find out if they have ways to manage, to help you manage your stress. And then take advantage of any services that you have locally. And then most of all, take a break. Take time for music, laughing, singing, dancing, whatever it is. Connect with your friends. Take some time. Okay, now, these are some resources we have. The AARP's Caregiving Resource Center, aarp.org/caregiving. It's free. You can go on there. You do not have to be a member to do that. There are advantages to being a member online, but that you don't have to be a member to do that. And you know, AARP is an advocate for, that's why we're the largest advocacy organization for people 50 and older. And we are out there working to make life better. One of the things we're working on now is a bill, and there's a flyer that was on the back table that I hope that you picked up. But on that flyer, it has information about a caregiving bill to strengthen the laws for family caregivers. So watch that as it goes through the legislature. Try to keep up and be supportive. Help us support that as it moves through, and we hope that it does. And there's also at AARP Learn at 50. There's so many things, and you'll find local things that we do. We can always come out and talk to you about caregiving, home fit, brain health, anything. So if you need us, let us know. And Bill Hawkins will be up in a little bit talking about fraud, because that's another thing that's so important to us. Thank you for letting me be here. And I hope that you got a few tips. Please go through that book, that Caregiver Prepare to Care. It has an amazing list of checklists and resources that you can look over. Thank you.
We're gonna draw a door prize right now. Jewel Woodard. She's not in here. Crystal Clyott and Barbara Frost. If you meet me over in the corner, I have a door prize for you. Good morning, everybody. I've been given the honor of introducing Miss Atala Cotton.
I'm sorry, you gotta talk. I'm not talking this right there.
She is a licensed independent clinical social worker currently employed at Alabama Department of Rehabilitation Services. She performs the role of a transition care coordinator and medical case manager at Children's Rehabilitation Service for clients with special needs and impairments. She has been with the department since 2014. Ms. Cotton has had the privilege of practicing as a mental health therapist from 2010 to 2014. Her experience of practice has been in community mental health, inpatient and outpatient settings. Ms. Cotton has provided mental health therapy services for children and adult populations. Her experience also includes practicing as a child welfare case manager within the Department of Children and Family Services in the state of Florida. Ms. Cotton had the honor of being an advocate for abused children and assisting families with case planning to enhance the quality of life.
She also assisted children by matching them with the appropriate adoptive parents. Ms. Cotton achieved her bachelor's in social work from the University of West Florida in 2006. She went on to obtain her master's in social work from Florida State University in 2009. She became licensed as a social worker in 2014. Ms. Cotton is currently attending Troy University to achieve her master's in vocational rehabilitation counseling under the School of Education. I present to you Ms. Atala Cotton.
Thank you, Rita. Hello, everybody. Hello. Can y'all hear me okay? Yes. Awesome. Okay.
No, they can't hear you.
Okay. All right. Are you doing presentations, like the slides on that computer? Oh. Okay. It's okay. Okay, so what I'm going to do is a couple of items I'm just going to set out, so like if anybody wants to get them, and I'll tell you what they are as we go through the training, okay? But they'll just be sitting up here for those who may have interest in these particular brochures. And I will put my cards. I brought a few of my cards, so y'all can just pick those up too. Let's see, now let me see about my presentation slideshow. Yeah.
We need to find your presentation.
Okay.
Is it on a thumbnail?
No, I sent it to her on email. So I'm thinking she's Vonda.
It's a Vonda.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Okay. While he's doing that, I'll just go ahead and get started. Like they said, my name is Atala Cotton, and I work at Children's Rehabilitation Service. I've been there going on 5 years. Now I make sure I round up because, yes, I'm trying to make some of the time that my other co-workers have made. I strive to be like them, and I see some of them in the room. I have some of them that has retired from CRS. Woo! Come on, let's give it up. Awesome. Yeah, so I strive to be like them when I grow up. All right. How many of y'all have heard of CRS already? Kind of have an idea? Children's rehab? Okay. And then let me get a feel of who's in the room. Who we have, like social workers? Do I have any of that? What about my nurses? Yeah? Okay. What about caregivers? Okay. Okay. All right. Am I mental health? I see Department Mental Health. All right. Woo! All right. Well, I just kind of wanted to get an idea of who I'm speaking with today. I know that as a caregiver, I heard the lady talk about how she became like caregiver over her sister's family, or her sister, and her sister has kids. So, yeah, they may be a grandmother or aunt or somebody that is above children's rehabilitation age. Nonetheless, they're affected because they have children now that are involved, and they may benefit from knowing of some resources for the children, which you didn't expect to need. Okay? So Children's Rehabilitation Service is under Alabama Department of Rehabilitation Service. We serve children that have special health care needs, and that means like those who have a chronic health condition. It might be mental health, it might be physical health, behavioral health, but we service those children. We are statewide. We are statewide all throughout of Alabama. We have 14 base agencies, and each agency covers districts, covers counties. So like, say for instance, this Barber County falls under the Dothan office, and we cover 6 counties. I think Henry, Houston, Geneva, Coffee, Dale. I think that's 6. I think that's 6. Did I? Okay. But we cover 6 different counties, and nonetheless, like I said, each office covers their own designated county so that the whole state is covered. Okay, so that's a good thing. CRS is unique. CRS is very unique, and especially I really emphasize in our Dothan office, because in our area we don't have like multidisciplinary clinics that are everywhere. Everybody doesn't run by that model. Children's Hospital runs by that model, and I feel like we kind of look like that. When you come to clinic, because we have specialty clinics, you will mostly always you'll see the doctor, you'll see the nutritionist, you'll see the social worker, you'll see, if you need it to, you'll see like the PT and the occupational therapist there. So it kind of cuts, or maybe the orthotist. But it kind of cuts down on all these travels, like, okay, well, if I was recommended to go see the physical therapist, then now I have to drive there. Oh, well, I need to go see the nutritionist, make sure that I'm on track. Oh, now I have to drive here. Sometimes sometimes in the professional world, we don't think about that. We don't think about the impact of, I'm sending you here, I'm sending you there, oh, now go do this and go do that. So CRS is very special in trying to consider that burden. Let's see. One other major thing, and it is definitely a major thing to those who are affected by it, hemophilia. We help serve hemophilia. We have clinics for them. And I know that CRS is from birth to 21, but with hemophilia, it doesn't end. It's a lifelong process. So therefore, CRS is always standing beside them. It helps them because it makes their life a little bit easier, rather that being, say for instance, they have an appointment that's really, really early in the morning, but of course they have to go to Birmingham for this clinic because we have CRS partnership clinics there. Well, they're like, how am I going to get there? I got to wake up at 4 a.m. to get to that appointment, get everybody dressed. How am I going to do that? Well, sometimes based on eligibility, CRS can kick in, and maybe we can help. Maybe we can help with that lodging. Make life just a little bit easier. Just one thing to make my life a little bit easier. So that is a big element to hemophilia. And of course, we know the cost of health care is very expensive. And then with that population, it's extremely expensive. CRS is here to help. Okay, let's see. CRS, Children's Rehabilitation Service, we have a wraparound model. I kind of mentioned the multidisciplinary model in clinics, but we have a model that is like made of the CRS team, and that, of course, that includes like your care coordinators. When some of y'all might say, well, what's a care coordinator? Well, we're talking about like case managers. They work the same way to some degree. Where the partnership or the family-centered model is with the primary care. We work with primary care physicians. Of course, we need that communication going back and forth, right? We don't want it to be, we're doing something over here and your primary care group knows nothing about it. You know, all our medical documents, they go to your primary doctor after every clinic. That's a really good thing. You don't even have to ask. Okay, and so another big part in our kids' life, of course, is school. That's a major factor. It's not separate from their medical piece of life, you know, because when they go to school, they still have these medical issues that go on that they need accommodations for still. So where does CRS come in? We're here to help. It's called CRS. So yes, they might call me as a care coordinator and they say, can you attend my IEP meeting? Okay, so I'm working alongside of the family. I attend these appointments. Maybe they're saying stuff that maybe the family doesn't quite understand. Maybe, and I can work with that parent or that guardian just to kind of speak in layman's terms, you know? Or maybe I can advocate, say if a child is only getting 30 minutes of educational instruction for a whole week because he's on homebound. You know, maybe I can just kind of voice that because mom was concerned. Mom is asking for additional time, maybe on education services, you know. Is that possible? Because mom, with the big group, seems intimidated to ask, you know, or she feels maybe shut down when she asks. Maybe it might be good to have that one person just to sit alongside of you, just to kind of voice some of your concerns, you know? So CRS is here to help. Not only that, you know, we have specialty providers such as like your speech therapist, CRS speech therapist, and CRS occupational therapist. Something might be going wrong with their wheelchair at school, or something's wrong and they can't get on the bus with that wheelchair like that. Well, our staff, sometimes they go out to the school, they'll talk to the teacher, see what's going on. How can we help? We're here to help. So anyway, they will go address that, and then they will get them in clinic if necessary and fix the problem. We're just that extra support, you know, that one other thing that might cut down on you running around and saying, what do I need to do? I don't know what to do. You know, you can always call your care coordinator and say, hey, I have this going on. Can you give me any information? Can you direct me? Maybe they may know, because not to say, oh, we know everything, but to say we've been in the program, we've been in the field for a little while. We do learn along the way what you're going to run into, you know, and we may know what had helped previously somebody else. Okay? Yes.
Can we ask questions?
Okay, yeah.
Do you pay for augmentative communication devices for children, or do you have a breakdown?
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, we can talk about that. Let me get there. I haven't quite got there yet, but I will answer your question. Okay, so let's talk about eligibility. So CRS says eligibility is based on a child that has special health care needs. That's eligible. They have to be Alabama resident. They have to be between birth, and they can't be past 20. They can't be 21. Services stop at 21. Or you be an adult with hemophilia. Of course, I said that never stops. There's no financial limit to be involved with CRS, meaning like you can't make, it's not a program that you make too much, so therefore you can't participate. There's great things about CRS, no matter what your income is. Like if you attend a clinic, you're not paying co-payments on. Great. Great. You don't pay co-payments for attending CRS clinics. We do understand that, again, cost is really expensive over time. If I have a child with special health care needs, oh my gosh, those co-payments, I might have insurance, but those co-payments do add up. Oh, they do. Even if just typical health, they add up. Okay, so anyway, so there's no financial eligibility as far as like you can attend or be up under CRS. Now there is, when we talk about, you were asking your question about maybe CRS assisting with some things. Well, we have a program that's called Purchase Services, and that is based on income eligibility. If you meet a certain requirement, then income requirement, then CRS can sometimes on eligible items that's recommended out of clinics, may be able to assist with some of those financial costs. Of course, we are always the payer of last resort, so we're trying to help by billing your insurance first. So does that kind of answer your question? It's based on eligibility, and if it's recommended out of clinic and it's an eligible item, then CRS can submit it to try to get approval for help pickup.
We had an incident. I also work for an agency that assists individuals with special needs, mental disabilities. And we do fund certain of our clients. So if a question comes up of the speech therapist for your organization has recommended a certain augmented communication device, and for some reason they don't pay that portion, we would help pay for that.
Awesome.
So my question is, on the parents that are, they're the caregivers of special needs children, and they cannot afford the device. The speech teacher said this child would benefit if you had XYZ device. However, the parent cannot afford it. Does CRS pay for some of it, or you don't do that? It's left to other agencies like the one that I have help.
Well, first let me say I would love to get your information if you are a resource to help. But CRS, like I said, so CRS will bill insurance always first, and based on eligibility, then if it's an eligible item, then CRS can submit for approval to help assist financially on that communication device. Yes. Okay. You got a question?
I'm just curious why hemophilia is the only thing that goes past 21, because none of these healthcare needs stop at 21.
Okay, well, I have a worker in here that is specializing in hemophilia. Miss Mary, would you like to kind of answer that? Did you hear the question? She just was pretty much saying, why is hemophilia the only medical condition that surpasses age 21?
Because, well, my point was none of these medical conditions stop at 21.
Yeah.
Diabetes doesn't stop at 21. Autism doesn't stop at 21. Nothing stops at 21. It's a lifelong issue for all of these healthcare concerns. I'm not saying that hemophilia should. I'm asking why the other ones aren't included.
Okay. Okay. Okay, so yes, we do acknowledge that these chronic health conditions do not go away. I understand, I hear you. Nonetheless, the agency ADRS has set CRS to say birth to 21. I don't know their rationale necessarily. Okay, but we have, okay, hold on, let's go here first. Miss Mary?
Hemophilia is very, very expensive. Factor, 1 dozen factor is in the back. So, they're fat. It's an ongoing thing. So you give it to boys, don't it?
Does the sound work on there? I put in a disc. Would it work? Okay. Oh, okay. Oh, well, hold on real quick. Let me go here.
Okay, to add to Mary's point, the hemophilia services don't end at 21 because those services are provided through the grant, through the it's the hemophilia grant of Georgia, if I'm not mistaken. So that is why we're able to receive funding at the age of 21 for that diagnosis.
So, is hemophilia for men only?
No. No.
Women are carriers. Huh? Women are carriers of that. Oh, believe it or not.
But for men,
Men are the ones that are.
it happens to get.
Okay. Okay. So, okay. So that was a good question. That was a good question, and again, that's why I said I aspire to be like my seniorities over there. Over there. Okay. So some of the eligible conditions that allow some of our clients to attend clinic services is like orthopedic conditions, visual impairments, seizures, traumatic brain injuries, spinal cord injuries, spina bifida, cerebral palsy, scoliosis, hearing loss. There are several, cystic fibrosis. There are several that are out there, but these are just to name a few. And some of those services, again, that CRS provide is information and referral, the care coordination as we kind of spoke about. We do clinic specialty evaluations. We have client family education. We have parent connections with the parent consultants, and youth connections with the youth consultant. And actually, Courtney and Sarah, they are our youth consultants, and they they are the representatives for our youth. And actually, Courtney has come to our area in Dothan, which she talks to some of our youth and kind of encourages them to participate in the youth advisory committee. Is that what we call it, right? Whereas it's kind of like an additional support. They talk on the phone, they do phone conferences and whatever else she sets up, but to kind of talk about what are they going through, to kind of talk about what to expect when I'm going to college or trying to get into college. What did I need to do to prepare for that? Those kind of things that just some of our youth might feel comfortable talking to a peer about on like a friend level. So that's a really good support. More supports, the better. And same with our parent advisory committee. That is the same thing, but it's for our parents that have kids with special health care needs, okay? So I encourage, if you're not involved with some of those things, then get involved. Get involved. They keep you well informed. Okay, I just kind of want to branch off a little bit. I want to talk about some of our clinics, just a few, but we have like the ACT clinic, as the lady here was speaking about, augmentative communication technology, okay? But that is awesome clinic, and I get to sit in and staff that, but it's for those kids that don't have a voice, for those kids that cannot speak, or if they speak, you can't understand them at all, you know? They get so frustrated because they have a lot to say, and they can't express themselves. They are expressing themselves, but we're not getting it, you know? So it's another way for them to communicate with the public. So say, for instance, it may have all kind of devices, whether it be eye gazing. I can choose what I want to say by looking at it, and it's going to say what I chose on my device. That's awesome. Or if it's a communication device, I might push my buttons, and I know what to push to make it say what I want it to say, so that my caregiver's not like, what? What are you saying? Say it again. And you know, by that time, you're like, I'm not even hungry anymore. You know, just forget it. I'll take my chips and go. You know, how frustrating is that? So that is an awesome clinic, and they really assess and they help with that. And again, they go through that clinic for evaluation, see what might be recommended, what might can help. They go out to your schools and go help train the speech therapists and people out there. So we are support to the other agencies, not just for individual families, but for agencies. So that's one of many that I love. Feeding, we have a feeding clinic. To some people it's like, that's boring, whatever, feeding clinic. But for those who have a kid that cannot eat, well. They cannot chew well. They don't swallow well. And so therefore they can't eat and get all their nutrients from just eating necessarily. They might need supplements just so that they can make sure they're meeting their nutritional requirements. That is a clinic for them. That's awesome. I would love, if that was my kid, somebody's there to help me, to help my baby learn to eat. And I'm not talking about it's just a baby infant. I'm talking about they might be 6. They might be 7. You know, they're not meeting that milestone. So it has their speech therapist in there, it has your OT in there, your nurse, your social worker. Again, it's multidisciplinary. So that's a really awesome clinic too. Again, they go out to the schools. After they do recommendations, they send it to the school and say, this is how the child should be helped in feeding while he or she is at school. I can come out, just call me, let me know. I'm not talking about me. I'm talking about speech therapists or occupational therapists. Don't call me to tell them how to train that baby to eat. I don't know. But so call that specialist. They will come out to the school and they will train that specialist at school. So that is very unique. I don't know of any other agency that does that. Let's see. Of course, we have our hearing clinic dealing with those that have hearing impairments. They might need hearing aids, or they might need specialty equipment to enhance their hearing in the classroom. They have all kind of technology these days that go beyond just, a hearing aid, you know? They have stuff that, I hear them talk about Bluetooth and, connects to my phone, my hearing aid does. Just awesome. Like, that's awesome. And if that was my impairment, I would be very appreciative that there is some technology out there that can help me. It doesn't make a big impact until it's us, until it's our own home. Then it's a big deal. Yeah, well, yes, but so many people are affected, so it is a big deal to CRS because we have so many babies that has that issue, whatever the issue is. Okay, so this is one I really, really love. It's called Teen Transition Clinic. Now, I can talk about that. I can talk about that. So this has been around in the different areas, but it's recently gotten here to Dothan. It's about 3 years old here in our area. But Teen Transition Clinic is awesome. Okay, so everybody know what an IEP meeting is, kind of? Yeah, okay, so you know how you go to those IEP meetings at school and they're talking about accommodations, they're talking about what the kid needs and testing and all that. Well, Teen Transition Clinic is very, very similar, but our focus is on vocation. Our focus is on post-secondary school or whatever training that kid might need to meet that goal. So say, for instance, somebody says, I want to go through Teen Transition Clinic. I'm about to be graduating soon. I'm going to the 11th grade. Okay, so then they're going to do an application for me. I'm going to send it to Lakeshore. I'm going to send it up. They're going to do a vocational eval. They're going to test IQ. They're going to test, based on those scores, they'll see what that child is interested in as far as career. Based on those scores, they will see what kind of careers that child might do well in. So it kind of gives them a roadmap to say, this is the areas we should kind of be looking towards. It identifies, so when we get that back, when we get testing back, they're scheduled, they come to clinic. Then in that clinic, we have the rehab engineer in there. He assesses for technology, what technology is going to be beneficial for this kid on the job or whether it be in school, post-secondary school. We have independent living specialists, which is awesome. They're trying to assess to see, okay, well, what other skills does this kid need to be more independent, whether in the home or can this kid move out at some point? What will they need? Okay, so we have VR in there, which is vocational rehab. Of course, they're there. They're the counselors that help with like jobs, kids' job placement, or help them in regards to getting into college or something like that. So they're in there. Social workers in there. And then, of course, the evaluator. Of course, the evaluator's in there. We need them, don't we? I guess there's no clinic if we don't have no scores. But okay, so all of them come together. And like I said, it's like an IEP meeting. I named all those people, but all those people come together and we're talking about planning for vocation, planning for post-secondary school. It lists out what accommodations that kid might need, what services, what programs may that kid need to participate in now to be ready for later. It gives me, as a care coordinator, a roadmap to say, oh, did we do this? Oh, what's your status on this? Okay, well, let me help and work alongside on you to get this task done. You know what I mean? So that by time they get to that college, these other assessments that were recommended out of clinic are being done. That's awesome. That's awesome, because I don't know no other place that sits down and plans with you for like your special health care needs, trying to transition to a job, trying to transition to school. So I'm very proud of that clinic. I love that clinic. For my Dothan clinic, I take them at 16 to come through teen transition clinic. There are flyers. Oh, I said I was going to talk about these flyers. So the teen transition clinic flyer is up here for anybody that may be interested in that. Of course, I have our children's rehabilitation flyers, just kind of basically saying what I'm saying in a nutshell. Gives all the offices, and it gives our services, the family center model and the CRS help in school, and what clinical programs or clinics that we have, stuff like that. That's on here, okay? You have something? Oh, okay. All right, let's see. I had a video, and I am hoping that it is going to work for us. Thank you for helping.
No problem.
I sure appreciate the help up here. I'm like, oh, hey, you have it. You do it. It's not on me.
Question on ACT, the device, depending on the CRS eligible diagnosis, CRS will assist, Medicaid we know will pay for the device depending on the diagnosis. I know speech apraxia is one that I know they will pay for, but then if they have private insurance, we get funding from individual family support each county to pay for the device.
I will definitely call on you. There you go. Okay, guys. So. Okay. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. I know, like, let's give him a hand. Will it go up any louder on there? Will it go up any louder on there?
Services for children and adults with disabilities and special healthcare needs, all provided through a single agency of government. For thousands of families each year, CRS is the foundation on which tomorrows are built. With the focus always on the family, CRS helps create partnerships that can build bright futures for Alabama's children. Those partnerships include friends, neighbors, and local educators, as well as the medical and rehabilitation professionals who are the essence of CRS.
Oh, okay.
This family-centered team approach gives every child the support and assistance necessary to achieve his or her maximum potential.
Okay. Okay.
Robertson has been a part of the CRS family for all 3 young lives. Born 3 months premature, little Reagan faced big challenges from the very beginning, including the loss of her parents. Diagnosed with cerebral palsy, she is also blind in one eye and still has difficulty walking and eating. Here at the CRS feeding clinic, Reagan and her grandparents are seen by a team that includes a nutritionist, occupational therapist, speech therapist, registered nurse, and social worker. At CRS, involvement goes beyond the clinic walls.
If you got a question, if you get upset, you don't know what to do next, call me. And I've called them, and they've been there. They tell me, you want to try this or try that. So they've been as great. Even the times that I've run out of equipment, like tubes and stuff for her medically, that they've rounded them up, brought them to me.
At this young age, good nutrition is vital for a better future.
Nutrition is of utmost importance from the minute they're born, and it never ends. And for brain development, the first 2 years, extremely important, that this child will have the capability to be what they can be later in life.
Scenes like this, with different families and different disabilities, are repeated in other CRS clinics across Alabama. The key to success is family involvement and teamwork driven by simple dreams.
I hope by the time she starts back to school this year in August that she'll be eating her cookie and to walk into the school with me holding her hand. I mean, that is a goal, because I've even had her pediatrician to tell me that she would never eat, she would never walk. And you just have to be persistent and with y'all's help, and she will.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, testing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Maya Teague's disability might have been overlooked had it not been for the statewide screening program that tests the hearing of all newborns. The test revealed hearing loss in both ears, and at 2.5 months old, she was referred to CRS for diagnosis, treatment, and follow-up care. Today, she's a familiar face at this CRS clinic, where she and her mom come for regular visits. The focus now is getting her to wear hearing aids.
We didn't like to wear hearing aids, so we call them earrings, because she loved earrings, so we call them earrings. And she uses them every day. Right now, she's learning to cut them on and off herself. So we're teaching her how to just put them in herself and click the back of them, because she watches her click the back of them and she can turn them off and on.
The sooner that you can find that they have hearing loss, diagnose it as close to possible as to what the actual threshold levels are, and get them in hearing aids, then the better they do as far as speech and language development. They're not as behind academically once they start to school. So that's the importance of newborn hearing screenings, is catching them early.
Some types of hearing loss can be corrected with medication. Others may require a hearing aid or surgery. Regardless of the treatment, CRS provides care and support throughout a child's developmental years.
If I have like a shortage or something wrong with her hearing aids, they're always helpful to me. And they give me with support groups if I want to get connected with other groups and communities. They're always there to help me do whatever I need to do with the financial part or just somebody just to talk to. They're always there for me.
We will continue to monitor her hearing, of course. We do that on at least a yearly basis. Sometimes we do that every 6 months, and we'll continue to do that as long as she's in our service. And we'll also go in and do in-services with the teachers and the school systems and students and things like that to try to help them understand.
Whatever lies ahead for Maya, her mother knows that the CRS family will be there.
The staff, they are friendly. You come in, they treat you like a family member. You feel that way towards them, a family member, because you're going to be with them a while. And if, like I say, if you need resources or you need somebody just to talk to, they understand and they will help you. And children rehab is the place to be.
To take today.
The caring network of support for CRS families extends beyond the clinic setting. All across the state, parents like Wanda K. Teague can be active in their local CRS Parent Advisory Committee. In this friendly environment, professionals and parent members share information and personal experiences that can educate and encourage other families.
Well, the real benefit is for them to be able to meet other parents, to have time to talk with them and provide support, a support system. Not only that, it's to be able to listen to speakers that we bring in to provide various resource information. So by providing a speaker resource, we can educate the parents to be able to help themselves, to be a self-advocate for their child.
Parents advising parents, guided by CRS staff. Yet another way of supporting families who are facing the challenges of disability. When Kimberly Spain and her husband decided to adopt a child from China, they were thrilled to welcome 2-year-old Ty into their family. They knew he was born with a cleft lip and palate, but were stunned to discover that he also had a seizure disorder, as well as difficulty hearing and walking. After a frustrating year of trying to find the services Ty needed, the family was referred to CRS. Here they work together with a team of physicians and CRS staff. This clinic for children with cleft lip and palate is a prime example of the CRS team approach to care.
If he went through a cleft palate doctor privately, he just sees the doctor. Where if he goes to children's rehab, he gets to see the doctor, the audiologist, the nutritionist, the social worker, the dentist, I think there's an oral surgeon. In fact, there's a lot of disciplines coming to one place.
Some of these kids have just blossomed after we've done some of the things that they've needed. Some of the, particularly the corrective surgery to fix what they're perceived as having as a deformity of their jaw, their nose, their ability to breathe through their nose, their ability to speak better.
This team will guide Ty's treatment through the years, knowing that they have played a big role in his development.
After they've had a lot of their therapies, their treatments, their speech therapies, their surgeries, when they become a little bit more than teenagers, it's very interesting to see how they've developed, and many of them are just very outgoing, giggling, fun-loving little individuals that it's very heartwarming to see, and you feel like that the team and the things that we've done for them have been a big part of that.
Meanwhile, other members of the team work outside the clinic, serving as a voice for the family in their community.
As social workers and care coordinators, we advocate for our clients. If we see a need in the school system, for instance, we will go to the meeting with the parent, justify the need for that child. Where the parent may not be able to communicate the need, we may be able to.
That kind of comprehensive care is a hallmark of CRS and welcome relief for CRS families.
To have those resources right there available, it's been wonderful. It's been a great experience. They know him by his first name. They have this family-type atmosphere of wanting to help him personally and to get as much out of him as they can. And they just genuinely want to help. And I don't know where
we would be without this service. Mandy Jones knows exactly where she's going, and she's headed there at full speed. This 20-year-old college student has her eye on a career as a computer programmer. Her first big step is this classroom, where she is working to get her GED. Born with cerebral palsy, Mandy has never been able to walk or talk. Since the age of 3, she has been coming to CRS clinics. CRS staff have followed her progress through the years, adjusting her treatments as she has grown and as her needs have changed. Newer and better wheelchairs have kept her moving on a fast track, but today she's more excited about her new voice. This pink box electronically speaks what she types into it, in a voice that she selected. Mandy says it has changed her life.
My life was very, very frustrating for my family and I. I had to spell in the air. I couldn't communicate with my directors without playing guessing games or writing notes. It was very frustrating for them as well. Getting this device was like a dream come true.
The dream team behind Mandy's new voice are these CRS specialists, who are part of the Augmentative Communication Technology Clinic. They helped identify the right device for Mandy, and they regularly assess what changes are needed to help her meet her goals.
Because those are little things, little problems that we're going to have to solve. So for you to go to work and for you to be independent.
Like any young adult, Mandy wants to be independent, live on her own, and of course, get her driver's license. Another team from CRS and vocational rehabilitation will work together on that wish. Mandy has big dreams, but with her rehabilitation family to support her, she has every right to be confident about her future.
I love my life. I am so independent, it's unbelievable. I know you see this big wheelchair, but I am just a regular 20-year-old woman who is living life to the fullest and preparing myself for the future.
This is wheelchair rugby. But those who play it call it murder ball. It's no ordinary game, and these are no ordinary athletes. They are Olympians. Like 19-year-old Joel Wilma, all of them have a disability, and this workout is a training session for the Paralympic Games in Beijing. No one could have dreamed that this was in Joel's future. He was the baby nobody wanted. Put up for adoption at birth, several couples passed him over. He finally went home with a mom and dad who didn't care that his hands and legs hadn't fully developed. What his parents didn't know was that their new son would be facing years of surgeries and follow-up care. When Joel was 7, they moved to Alabama and became part of the CRS family and the Limb Deficiency Clinic.
We have 2 doctors, we have 2 physical therapists, an occupational therapist if needed, a nurse, obviously a social worker. We have all these different providers that come together and make sure all the needs are met.
From regular monitoring to providing the right prosthetics, CRS has been a constant in Joel's life. Another constant? Persistence. From learning to crawl without feet to manhandling his murder ball chair, having a disability has never slowed him down.
Probably the biggest thing that Joel has is determination. He has looked at all of the things that he's had the opportunity to do and really met and exceeded the challenges that he's had.
I'm just a normal person. I'm the same as everybody else. And you just can't look at your disability as a hindrance to what you want to do in life. You just got to push through it and do what you want to do and be a better person for it.
That confidence has helped Joel become a key player on Team America, and he is quick to credit CRS for always being on his team.
ADRs hasn't changed. They've been great from day one. They took it and ran with it, and they have definitely helped me with getting my prosthetics once a year, twice a year at some point when I was growing a lot, and they have basically put me in a position to where I can live a normal life.
Joel's next dream is a psychology degree so he can help other people. The Department of Rehabilitation Services will still be there to help him succeed. But first, there's the dream in Beijing. That dream came true as the U.S. team brought home the gold and yet another triumph for Joel. Reagan, Maya, Ty, Mandy, Joel. Children of different ages, different backgrounds, and with different disabilities. All with one thing in common: Children's Rehabilitation Service. Since 1926, CRS has been there for thousands of Alabama families, providing individualized, family-centered care and assistance, at home and in school. Today, through a network of 15 community-based offices, CRS services are available to children and youth under 21 in every Alabama county. CRS offers every family, regardless of their income, a unique team of doctors, nurses, social workers, physical and occupational therapists, speech-language pathologists, audiologists, nutritionists, and parent consultants. All working together with families to build brighter futures for Alabama's children and youth with special health care needs.
All right. Okay, so in our closing, Ms. Mary, did you want to say something? I know you have some comments.
She asked about the communication device. CRS, if it's Alabama Medicaid, they are dependent on the eligible diagnosis. Medicaid will pay. We will also complete an application for individual and family support to help pay for communication device.
Yeah, I do that. That's why, that was a question. It was a question to see if, first, does CRS help? If CRS doesn't help, then it will come to our agency. But we were just wondering, do they pay up, or Medicaid only pays up to a certain amount of money and then they'll pay it, or?
Not a certain amount I'm not aware of, but Lydia Arndt is our speech language pathologist in the CRS office. She would be the one to answer your question. Okay. As far as how much.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Well, everybody, I just want to say thank you so much for having me and listening so attentively. I appreciate it. And thank you so much for inviting me to talk about CRS.
We're gonna pull for 2 more door prizes. One is from People First. Janet McMillan. And this is from Department of Mental Health. And there's flowers. Okay, you'll be back here by 10:45. Okay? And we'll get started right.
Is it on?
Give it about 15 seconds to make sure it comes through here, and then it will set.
Okay. Hi, my name is Allison Haynes. I'm the Outreach Coordinator of People First of Alabama. We are a self-advocacy organization that teaches people with disabilities how to advocate for themselves and to know their rights and responsibilities so that they can have more choices in life and be more independent. One of the programs that we actually have is called a program called Young Emerging Leaders. It's for the ages between 16 and 26, and we actually teach people with disabilities how to become leaders within their own community. And we are based in Birmingham, but we actually we would reimburse you for your mileage. This would be a great way in order for you to learn. We talk about such topics like self-advocacy, professionalism, leadership skills, just a wonderful way of being able to learn how to become a better leader and a better self-advocate. Okay.
over, we're gonna go over to the Riverside Room, which is right out there by the exhibitors. So for lunch, okay? And you will not have your dessert on your table, so don't be alarmed. You will get a dessert.
Sound good.
Get it
Sound
in
good.
that place. So when lunch is over, I need you to come back here very quickly so we can finish up on time, okay? All right, so at this time, first of all, I want to thank everybody for being here right now, and I'm going to turn this over to my dear friend Amanda.
All right. Hey, everybody. Everybody get a little caffeine? Going again?
Thank you.
Well, I am nobody of importance, so I am just here to introduce our next speaker. Mr. Bill Hawkins is associate.
We can't hear you.
You can't hear me? I have never heard of that before. Can you hear me better now? I'm not working for Verizon. I'm just here to introduce our next speaker. Mr. Bill Hawkins is the Associate State Director for Advocacy Outreach in AARP's Alabama office. His work includes helping individuals protect themselves against fraud, and he also works with Alabama's congressional delegation. And he lives in Vestavia with a wife and daughter, so he's very lucky.
I am.
And he probably doesn't tell people that they're too loud either. So thank you all, and I turn it over to you.
Thank you. Now, I'm wearing this. Can y'all hear me? If you can hear me, raise your hand. Everybody's good? Ann, can you hear me? I don't have, I've learned that the issue with solving technology problems is not to have technology. So I don't have any nice videos or anything like that. So don't get excited. I'm also the person that's between you and lunch. So we'll try and make that happen. So I don't know what's worse, being the guy before lunch or the guy after lunch. So I'm going to say it's after lunch today. But thank you all for being here, and thanks for inviting us to this conference. Anyway, we appreciate it, and thank you for the work you do. Being a caregiver and working with caregiving issues is hard. I cared for my mother from the time my father died until her death 5 years later. My mother had dementia. She was initially 2 hours away from me. I'm an only child, so there was very little social things. I'm a male. At that point, I had a 6-year-old daughter. So it's just tough, but I'm not unique. It happens all the time. And I always say now, next time I care for an aging parent, I'll know better. Because I've run out of parents, with that. All right, now what we're going to do is talk about fraud in general, and then I'm going to talk about some specific things related to caregiving and what you need to watch out for. So we're on Facebook Live, is that correct? Okay. I will ask you to silence your phones, please. And we're going to talk quickly. So I'll ask you, who has gotten a call or an email or a knock on the door or a piece of mail that's suspicious in the last 2 weeks? Probably easier to say who hasn't, because we all get them all the time. Don't you? Does anybody, let's do it this way, does anybody not get them? Those monks in Siberia probably don't get them, but that's about it. Because unfortunately, we live in an age where communication is easier. But the fact that you have fraud is no different from what it's been since biblical times and beyond that. There have always been people out to get your money and put it in their pockets. The way they do it changes from week to week or season to season or technology to technology, but the same tenets are there. So I'm going to talk about some current scams first. Now you should have 3 things from me to look at. One, and they were on this back table. Everybody got one of these red books? Well, Ann, could you help us with these red books? Who doesn't have a red book?
We need you to use the other mic.
Okay. Use it too?
Yes.
I'm going to be double mic'd here, folks. Now you can hear me? All right. Well, thank you for volunteering to do all that stuff earlier I asked. All right. So who doesn't have a red book? Did y'all not go to the back? Well, did you not get a book? Come on. So we got two other things. We've got that, and then we've got this sheet. Who doesn't have one of those? Okay, that I'll ask you to go afterward and get. That's not critical to have. And I'm going to leave you with this magnifier, which is so you can look for the fine print and you can see what's there. It's also a good thing. So let's make sure everybody gets a red book. All right. There are a couple of frauds that are going on right now. I got a call I think it was Tuesday. There are robocalls. Robocalls are a terrible way that folks get information out. This robocall was your Social Security number has been, or your Social Security account has been put on hold. Which means you won't get benefits, which means this won't happen, which means that won't happen. Now, if you are dependent on Social Security, as the vast majority of people 65 and above are, that's pretty scary. If you think it's true. And if you get a call, you're going to panic because it may be true. First of all, it's not, because is Social Security ever going to call you? No. So that's one thing. But they're saying, call this number to check your Social Security, which of course will lead to what? You giving what? Your number out. And people are falling for it, and it's going on. It's a scam. So that's one thing that happens, is people trying to get your good information. So let's talk about what your good information is. Social Security number, Medicare number, driver's license number, and the big one is your bank account number. So we're going to talk, and most scams go around those things. And there are different ways that people try to troll to get that. Another way people do it is they just skip all those accounts and just get money directly from you. And there's a whole school of scams with folks who are sending folks to Walmart to get gift cards or to get cash or to wire money or other things. So I want you to be thinking of anything you've experienced related to something like that. So the whole point of a fraud is to take something from you and give it to someone else. That's their business, and they are good at it, and they are mean. And they would take they would take medicine from a sick person. They would do anything to it. And so you need to realize you're not dealing with rational thought, and you're not dealing with anything other than criminal behavior. And so as people who are professionals, you need to recognize how you can help people with that. So I talked about the Social Security scam. Has anybody gotten any other calls recently related to anything?
Sir.
Yes, miss.
Just last week I got a call from a lady. She said she was from the Council Foundation.
Oh, good for her. Good for her. She got a call from somebody with the foundation.
And she wanted me to, she was going to send me an envelope, and she wanted me to make a donation of $50 or $30.
Great.
But I haven't gotten it. I mean, the bill. She had my address and everything.
Well, let's talk. So the first thing is she got a call. Who has caller ID? Most of us do. Vast majority. If you don't recognize the number, don't pick it up. Sometimes, and yes, ma'am, and yeah. Hold on, folks. Hold on.
They use that number.
Yeah. So we've got some examples here. This is good discussion, but y'all listen to me for a second. So one thing is, if you get a call from your own number, that's suspicious. If you get a number that's very similar or your friend's number, of course, you're going to answer it. But and it's called spoofing. So people can mimic a number and do it. One of the scams that goes out now is a number that's similar to it. So let's say you're a veteran. How many veterans we have in here? Get VA benefits. You kind of know the number for the VA. So you get a call, and it's very similar to that. You pick it up. And it'll sometime at the bottom say VA, because you can spoof that as well. Another way that happens with spoofing is with emails. And I'm kind of jumping around, so y'all forgive me. I'm trying to group it by topic. So everybody has emails, right? Or most people do. You get an email you don't know. The first thing you do is you don't open it. So if you do open it, and it has, the thing you can click onto, a link, there's some ways that they can spoof you with that. There's a little heading at the first, HTTPS. If it doesn't have the S, that's not secure. So I would be real cautious anytime you click into an email link on any message you get. Another thing you can do is, let's see, the word looks very similar. So let's say you're getting something from www.crimsontide.org. So instead of crimson, it's CRIMMSON. And so you wouldn't notice it unless you looked real careful. But that's a spoof. And if they are sending stuff with the wrong address, and because of domains, sometimes you could have where you, like a lot of you do with your email, where you put a number at the bottom or at the end of it or something. So that's good. That's one way to do it. But just if you don't know, don't do it. Just don't click onto them. Don't answer the phone, and that can help. That goes a long way, because I've been getting calls about my student loan.
Oh yeah, I got that yesterday.
Apparently, several of you have gotten these calls too. That's been a long time ago for me.
I never made one, and that was my
shot. But what they're doing is, if you call 100 people and 2 of them fall for it, they've more than made their money. So you get those calls, you don't recognize the number. What do? Don't answer it. All right. You also get an email that looks a little suspicious. Do you click on it? No. You get one that doesn't look suspicious, but it has links in it. Don't click on those. So I'm talking to y'all. But a little later, and I'm going to ask you to remind me to talk about what that means for a caregiver. Would you do that for me? Okay. Because they're whole different issues if you're caring for someone else. And we're going to talk about those in a little while. So some of the other scams that are going on now, next week is a black day because it is tax day. And people are sending all kind of money into the government. Well, let's talk about how you pay those taxes. Most of us write a check. And where do you put that check? In the mail. Do you put it in a box in front of your house with a red thing that goes up that says, "Please steal me now"? All right. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I was always brought up that you didn't touch a mailbox. But these are not people that you can trust. So there are scams that people go around, and if there is the little thing, "I've got mail," they'll take it out. So right now, a lot of people are probably mailing their taxes. So if I'm a thief, I know this is probably good pickings. So I'm going to go in and look. So again, just go to the post office and drop it in. Anytime you have a check, do it, because that check's going to have your bank account information on it. Has anybody here been a victim of ID theft and willing to share some information? Yes, ma'am.
It's been about 10 years ago, but I'm still fighting the battle. They stole my identity.
Okay.
Stole my daughter's identity and filed my taxes.
They did. What was the last thing you said?
They filed my taxes.
Okay, and we'll talk about that in a second. So tell them about filing your taxes and what that meant.
In order to file my taxes, I have to have an ID PIN number now. I can no longer just file it with my name. I have to file a number that's issued by the IRS in 2 different sections. They send me 2 letters to make the complete number.
And what benefit did they get from filing your taxes?
They got the money.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, eventually I had to send in so much stuff to prove who I was.
It's
Send in my high school diploma.
Yeah, I mean, it happens all the time. So ID theft, everybody knows what that is, don't you? Okay. And I'm going to talk a little bit about being a caregiver now. If you are caring for someone, you've got a different level of responsibility, because you are basically dealing with somebody else's business, and you have to be very careful. So the first thing I'm going to tell you about that, and we'll go back to some more scams, but thank you for sharing that. ID theft happens once in this country, once every 3 seconds. So 1, 2, somebody's got stolen. 1, 2, somebody's got stolen. 1, 2, somebody's got stolen. And the more technology we have, the easier it is to make that happen. So let's talk about being a caregiver, though. If you're a caregiver, often you are in control of some resources, and those are the things we've talked about: bank account numbers, checkbooks, Social Security checks. Those are direct deposited now, but the bank account can get it for you. So one way to protect yourself and the folks you know is to have everything planned out and have the legal papers you need done. So there's some ways to do that. One thing for your descendants is have a will. Now, have a will. I don't know how many people have dealt with estates or someone who passes away without a will. It's a mess. But let's say you're sick. You need what's known as an advance directive, so people will know what you want. And my father-in-law died about 4 or 5 years ago, and he died without a will. He died without an advance directive. He died without a power of attorney because he wouldn't confront the issue that something was going to happen. He just didn't want to deal with it. And so people don't do it because they don't realize they have to, or they should. They don't want to deal with it because they don't want to accept the fact they're going to get older and pass away. And the third is maybe somebody's keeping them from doing it. Ann and I work for AARP, and it is very often, more often than you think, where someone is elderly, their immediate family has died, they have a great niece who's married to Ted. And Ted lives in California. And Ted gets Aunt Betty's power of attorney and steals everything she's got. We've had people who with a power of attorney, put people in a nursing home against their will, sell their property, and they can do it. So that's why it's important for you to have that done, and you and the people for whom you're caring. That way you can have a discussion with the family or whomever is the correct person and make sure that it's done. So if you don't have one, I'm not going to ask you to raise your hand because I'm going to wag my finger at you. But if you don't, get those 3 things done. It is easy. You can do them online. Just have that done. There are clinics that AARP and other groups offer where you can make it done. Those of you who are social workers know easy ways to make that happen. So please, if you haven't done it, do it, because it leads to a bunch of problems. But the main thing it does do is not only give you that legal protection, it also makes you have those thoughts about planning and what you need to do. Nobody wants to admit that they're going to get older. My knee hurts a lot. I never want to admit that I was going to be the guy with the bad knee, but I am. And it would be silly not to be realistic about that and deal with it realistically. Another thing is when people have disabled children, as they age, you need to have plans. But usually you're going to say, I want my husband, or I want my wife, or I want my sister, right? With these things. Often, and those of you who work in hospitals know that often the stroke victim is discharged to her 83-year-old husband who has Parkinson to be the caregiver. So you need to go a little beyond that and think, well, what if? My aunt died 2 weeks ago. She was 96. She fought everything. She fought her family. They squabbled like there's no business. And I loved her, but she was something. But that happens. I mean, and y'all know people like that. But if you don't have it, and right now it is, it could lead to a mess. So you need to do it. And that's but you think how you can protect yourself from fraud that way. So let's go back to fraud and some things that are going on. One thing I say, and I mean this lovingly, but just because you go to church with Brother Jimmy doesn't mean that Brother Jimmy needs to handle your money. So I'm getting applause because obviously there's been some problems. Wait, I'm getting a fraud call now. No, actually, this is my priest. I'm sorry. So maybe I'm looking worse than I thought I was. I don't know. No, actually, that is my friend who is a rector of an Episcopal church, and he did George Bush's funeral. So he's done really well. So anyway, but I bet George Bush had some plans, but he had all that done. So. But churches, see, I was talking about church, and so somebody's calling to say, so I'm not saying don't trust your church, because sometimes I give this presentation, and it sounds like I'm saying, don't trust your church, don't trust your friends, don't trust your family, don't trust anybody. Well, I'm kind of saying that. But you need to make sure that you're secure. And so please do that. So let's talk about some other scams. ID theft happens all the time, and it is a mess to get out of it. If you are caring for somebody, not only can you have those discussions and have that paperwork and make sure that the family, and that may be you, it may not be you, make sure that's done, because people just need the help. All right, what are some other scams that folks have had? Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, my husband gets a call at work about the sheriff's going to come to our house, and if we don't send them this amount of money for a bill, a phantom pass.
So what she's saying is they get calls that say, you haven't paid your parking ticket, or you hadn't done this, or whatever, and we're coming to your house to arrest you. Well, first of all, I don't think they call to say, we're coming to arrest you.
No.
And if they do, that's where I want to live. But and so they're different. We talked about different forms of that. There's another one that's going on now. I'm from the IRS. You owe us $500, and we're coming to arrest you. Well, again, the IRS is not going to call you as far as I know. And they're just going to send you to jail. But what you have to do is realize that that's a scam. So anytime they call with something like that, or they'll call and say, we're going, and you can go buy some gift cards and send us to that. But it happens all the time. So the frauds are the same. They just have different faces on them. So the IRS scam is one. You haven't gone to jury duty. You have an outstanding parking ticket, this, that, or whatever. Another one that goes on is we call the grandparent scam, where you get a call and say, Grandmama, Grandmama, I'm hurt. And so your first reaction is to say, well, Susie, what's wrong? So they'll know it's a girl, and her name is Susie, and say, oh, Grandmama, I was in Georgia, and I had an accident, and I broke my nose, and I need help, and I'm in jail, or this, that, or whatever. Has anybody gotten one of those calls? Okay, ma'am, you've gotten one. What was yours like? What did they ask you?
He says, hey, Grandma, this is your grandson. And I don't even have a grandson. I only have one.
First mistake.
Hi, what's your name? And he told me his name, which wasn't. I'm sorry, darling. You had the wrong number and just hung up.
Call a grandmother, who cares? I don't care. But again, it's the same thing. They're trying to scare you and get you in their sway. Another thing you have is if you deal with people who are older or perhaps have some debilitating mental conditions or other things, is they're lonesome. They're in the house and somebody's calling them and talking to them. And they're delighted to have anybody to talk to. So over a period of months, because remember, these people have nothing else to do, so they call you every week for 5 minutes for 4 months. And they keep notes about Miss Susie has had a bad leg and she's worried about her grandson, and because people will tell you anything. And so, and those relationships continue, and it's not long before they're starting to ask you for stuff. And once you start answering the phones or giving out information, or if you ever give somebody some money, they're going to start calling you more. And it is very easy for it to go from, oh, you're my best friend or whatever, to pick up this darn phone. You're not answering my calls. I know where you live. I'm going to come and hurt you.
And I say, bring it on and meet my friend.
But you're the rare exception. You're the rare exception. Most of the time, people will just be scared to death. Again, my mother. Mama lived at home for 2 years after Daddy died. She was struggling with dementia. And she would get calls, and it would scare the bejesus out of her. Okay. Okay. All right, so you've just got to be careful of what you do. I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought. Okay. All right, fraud's bad. Fraud's bad. So there are ways so let's go through this book real quickly. And these are just most of the things that I've talked about and how to do it. Con artists work on you in several ways. You're gullible. You don't think somebody's out to steal from you. You don't think that people are trying to hurt you. And you're a good person. If somebody's going to talk to you, you're going to believe them. The last way they get on it is we're all greedy. Who's won a foreign lottery? Who's gotten those things? You know, I've never entered a foreign lottery, and it's like, well, how should I win it if I have? But again, there's that little thing, because my middle name is Riley, R-I-L-E-Y. I got a note one time that a man had died in Hong Kong, whose name was Riley, and therefore I was entitled to part of his $7 million estate. And it's like, well, all right. But again, I'm greedy. And most of us are. We think there's money for nothing. My mama told me and my daddy told me, and it's true. If it's too good to be true, it's too good. About 30 years ago, or about 40 years ago now, more than anything in the world, I wanted a VCR. You remember a VCR? And at that point, they were really expensive. They were like $300 or $400. And I wanted one and I didn't have any money. So I got a call one day telling me I'd won a VCR. And I'm not dumb, but I'm gullible. And I'll believe anything anybody says. And I realize this about myself. So y'all don't pull anything on me. But they kept talking to me, and I was just so excited I won. But in order to get it, I had to buy $400 worth of vitamins. And I did it. I did, because it's like, okay, because they are expert in figuring how to push your buttons. Everything you're going to say, they've worked where they know how to do it. Now, luckily, I was able to cancel it with the police. And the sheet you're going to get, some of you have them, the others don't, is a list of resources where if you think you've been defrauded, you can call and get help. Because like the lady who was had her ID stolen, it's nothing you do, but when something happens, you need to make sure that somebody knows about it and can help you, because it'll go on and on and on. No. Or the vitamins. I didn't get the vitamins either. So I didn't get anything. I got a hard time and I got a good lesson. Because 40 years later, I'm still telling it as part of my work. Because, I'm sorry? No, those are good. Those are good. You know, you think about how technology passes and things, because that was just it. You know, that was it. So there are ways you can protect yourself. We'll go through some more scams here. I'm on page 6. And this is, you remember the cards, you know, respond to this email and you'll get blessings. And that's on Facebook now and other things. You're not going to get any blessing. Or send $1 in this envelope, or all the. So it hadn't changed from the from the time of Jesus or beyond that. There's a gold scam where people will call and try to sell you gold. There was a big one in Alabama about 3 or 4 years ago, and they were selling antique gold coins. Now the way that works is, yeah, they sell you gold, but the gold is much more expensive than where you could buy somewhere else. And they get you on there, so next time they're going to call you about that or something else. But the way you could tell, and these were antique gold coins, and let's see if you get the joke. The way you could tell that is because they were dated 350 BC. How'd they know? There's some here about pickpockets. We're not going to go through that. Charity scams. We had a terrible storm recently in Lee County. We had a storm in Lee County, and the Red Cross, it wasn't 15 minutes before scams started happening. And people will call and say, I'm with the National Red Cross, or I'm calling to do this or that or whatever. It's the American Red Cross. So that's one way. Or people go around and say, I will fix your roof, or I will cut these trees, or I will do this, or I will do that. And they're like leeches. They go from place to place and place. So just be careful of that. It happened when we had the Tuscaloosa tornado a few years ago. It happens every time. And whatever the disaster, you know, right now they're having terrible snowstorms in the Midwest. So I'm sure there's something going on with that right now. Charity scams, who talked about getting the calls from people trying to sell you the foundation? That's another way. You know, people will call. Do you ever get a call trying to buy tickets to the circus for the orphans of the? Well, that's real nice, and you hate to say no, but do you know anything about that charity? No. Do you know anything about any of it? There's another thing now called GoFundMe. Y'all know what that is? Give money so we can buy a puppy for this child or something. Child ain't going to get the puppy. The people who get the money are going to take that away. And I'll never say never, but usually it works that way. All right, bank examiner scams where they call and say, we are with your bank, we're with the power company, we are with the gas company, you know, something that you trust. We had a scam a few years ago where they called and said, this is AARP. And we're going to sell you a discounted membership. So, I mean, it's just knowing the tricks and what you do with it. Okay, IRS scam, we talked about that. Telemarketing scam. And again, how do you avoid those scams? You don't answer the phone. You don't send any money. You don't give any information out. In the back, there's going to be a list of resources you can call. And it's going to start with two blank lines. One is for the police, one is for your sheriff, because your local law enforcement are the main ways you can go about doing that. And then there are other folks on there to call. Now, let's answer any questions y'all have about things, or tell me about a situation you've had. Yes, ma'am.
I had one. I actually went to Sam's. I didn't pay attention to it in the beginning, but what the young lady did, I went to the bank, found out that this was actually, I was the trustee at my church, and the money kept coming out. I went out and bought something for the church. But what happened, how I realized that it happened at Sam, is someone else came into Wells Fargo, and they were talking about the same thing. I remember that the lady, when I went into Sam's to buy something, the cashier came around the corner. You know how you swipe it? So she came around and took the card and swiped it for me. I remember that. But in actuality, she was doing it to a lot of people that was coming into Sam's.
Okay.
Something I would have never thought was the only thing that gave me that red flag is someone else came in while I was there at the bank and said the same thing had happened to them at Sam's. Because the young lady came around, swiped my card. I don't know what she did, but she took the card and she swiped it for me. For some reason it wasn't going through, but she had a little scam going.
Yeah.
And she was taking the money out, and oh no, I remember. What she was doing, it was buying something somewhere else. And so I came and said, no, I didn't purchase this. But she was using it somewhere else.
Yeah.
And so it was a scam that they were doing. One of the cashiers at Sam's.
And you can hear about that. You know, like you buy gas. There's a thing they can put in to kind of override that technology. And so you do that, and basically you're giving somebody your credit card. You know, I told you I would make you paranoid about trusting anybody or anything or doing anything. So, and again, technology is a terrible thing. I carry a credit card in my wallet. I also carry a driver's license. That number is up with a clear piece of plastic, right? Somebody's behind you at what's the grocery store here? Winn-Dixie. Yeah, you get it out, and you're getting your credit card out, and your wallet is right there with your driver's license number. You know, you got a cell phone, so just turn it over. Just turn it over. I used to put my Social Security number on my checks, have it printed on there because I thought that was neat. Yeah, I'm also the one that bought those vitamins, so there you go. Right. Yes, ma'am.
There also was a scam going on in Dothan at one time. If you was at a restaurant and you pay with your card, they would go. The waitress would go and write your number down. You know how they put it in there, and when they go to the register, they write your number down. And then when they go home, they was ordering off of the computer, because they would write your number down, and they was telling on the news, don't let nobody go out of your sight with your card.
Yeah.
They had a scam going like that in some of the restaurants.
And you hear about that a lot. And again, but we live in a world. We lost our credit card last week and had to rely on not using one for 5 days, and it is a bear. You are so. And I remember when they first started saying instead of writing checks, use your credit card. And I thought that was so silly. But you have to be careful. Okay, who else has something? Okay, who? Somebody? Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry.
Have y'all heard about the secret shopper scam, where they actually do a secret shopper?
Well, let's talk about that. The secret shopper scam. Okay.
And so a friend of mine wanted to be a secret shopper, and they sent her the thing. It was from Kroger's. There is no Kroger's in Alabama. No. First of all, and they sent a check, and they tell you to cash it out of your account, and then you take it. So she took it to the bank, and the bank said, "Ma'am, this is not a real check."
Yeah.
When I did it was, that was years ago, they mailed me a check, and what they wanted me to do was cash it and then send them the $1,000. I keep the $200, shot with it. The other was gonna be like a credit or something.
So see, but it's the same thing. See, it goes around and around. So a couple other things. You get those things, say, a $20 check or a $5 check in the mail. Thank you for being a loyal customer or something of a company you've never heard of. So the first impulse is to cash it. Well, A, it's going to bounce, and B, that can give people the information they need about your bank account. So just be real careful with it. All right, we've got about 5 more minutes, so let's talk about something else. So we've talked, yes, ma'am.
Yeah, all of a sudden I'm quiet. Years ago, and it's not been that long, probably about 5 years ago, I learned the lesson of not leaving things even in my locked vehicle. Because I was a busy mom, I was carrying kids into the dentist, so I just grabbed what I needed and left my purse in the car, thought it was hidden. While I was in the dentist, somebody opened up my van and got in and started placing orders. We actually caught it fast because they were dumb enough to go on Amazon, and we already had an Amazon account. But when the police officer called us after we reported it and was investigating, it had happened to a couple of dozen people in that same general vicinity. So.
And when I started this work about 5 or 6 years ago, I thought everything was going to be grandchildren on drugs. And that is an issue with older folks, but it's also so much more widespread than that. And a lot of it is drugs, a lot of it's just sorry, and a lot of it's just criminal. So there is a viable way to make a living stealing from other people through these ways. People are spending their careers doing this, and they're going. So as caregivers, how can you protect yourself? And how can you protect the person for whom you're caring? You can make a plan. You can talk to the folks that need to be involved with that. You can get the important papers you need. And again, I don't mean to discount the client or the person whom you're serving, because obviously you need to include their wishes in everything you do. So do that, make sure. So scams are everywhere. You're getting calls. Don't answer the phone if you don't know it. Don't click onto something. Don't cash a check that you don't know about. If you receive an invoice, I used to get invoices for magazine subscriptions. And they weren't really invoices. They were just a letter that looked like something. And you thought, well, maybe I did that. You remember? And they're just people trying to take your money. So watch out for that. Who has some other stories?
I know a gentleman, this has been a few years.
Hold on, folks.
It was an elderly man.
Yes, ma'am.
They got a call one night. Their grandson happened to be out of the country. So I think there was just some coincidences here. I don't know. But my grandson was out of the country, and they got a call, and they said that he had been arrested.
Yeah.
And they needed bail. He needed bail money wired to them. They knew the grandson's name, and they used it when they made the call. So that really got them upset. The man asked, supposedly the grandson was on the phone too, and the gentleman asked the grandson a question, is it really you or something?
And he said no.
And he said yes.
Of course.
But it was his voice.
Oh,
And then he came back and asked another question that they couldn't answer. That's when he was sure that it was a scam. But then later when he was told that sometimes when they call and they may ask, are you the head of the household, or are you the lady of the house? You sometimes would say yes or no, but they would record you saying that. And they could use it, and that's probably how they got his voice. It was really a scary situation.
It is. It's a horrible thing. And the psychological impact of being the victim of fraud is as bad as breaking a hip or something else. You start doubting your abilities, your confidence goes away. It's a terrible thing. So I've talked a little bit about fraud. Obviously, there's a lot more we could talk about. We've got those 3 things in the back. Please do that. Does anybody have any questions?
You didn't say anything about folks coming to your home.
Okay, let's talk.
To the home of the caregiver.
Okay.
I work with seniors in my church parish, and about 7 years ago, the husband of the caregiver he was going through some dementia, and 3 adults came to their door at their home and said that they were with an insurance company and they wanted to award this man some money because he had been a teacher and so forth.
The guy in his house.
The guy at the house, the guy with the dementia. And he let them in and he's talking with them, carrying on a conversation. The 2 guys were dressed very well in suits. And the young lady with them, she was like taking notes. They said in order for them to grant him whatever it was in money, he had to bring them to his bank so that they could deposit this check or so forth. And they actually had the guy, he said, well, let me tell my wife I'm going down to the bank and I'll be back in a few minutes. She didn't realize he was going through full stages of dementia. Well, she said, she told the husband, oh no, you're not. And he said, honey, it'll be okay. He said, I'll be back soon. They took him in his car. He did go in the car with the 3 persons to the bank, got to the bank, and the wife or the caregiver was smart enough to call the bank, warn them that something was going on. She had called the police. They did, in the end, catch the one guy that was in that scam.
But you think, what a SOB to do that to somebody.
They did that to that older man.
Yeah.
Took him downtown and then left him on the sidewalk after they discovered that they were sought out.
And that happens, they'll get in the house, they'll physically take things from you. So fraud has a lot of different angles, and we've just talked about some of them today. And I will ask you then to be careful and pass on. You know when people need help.
Yes.
You know the people in your neighborhood. You know when it looks funny. You know the people who don't have children here, and that nice young girl or boy down the street starts taking Miss Annie to the drugstore. And not saying that's always a bad thing, but there you go. Thank y'all for your time. We'll be around. Let me have any questions, and I'll see what, I guess she just wants us to go from here to lunch. Okay.